the pearl. It is the suggested gift for the 30th anniversary. So I looked up, how did this come up? Who came up with this calendar? And it actually dates all the way back to Victorian times, when they were looking for ways for people to celebrate longevity in marriage. And I thought, there's no mistake that here on our 30th anniversary, the pearl is that symbol that we look to. And that the way that a pearl is created within the oyster, because there's something that enters the organism, whether it's an irritant, like we thought it might be a grain of sand, and that there's a substance that forms over it, over the years, that mother of pearl, and it just wraps around that organism or that grain of sand or that irritant, they called it. And it forms a gorgeous, lustrous pearl after years and years of creation. And so I think an organization like this, a spiritual center, a church, is a lot like a marriage, where people come together to form an entity, a body together, in this case, a spiritual body. And yes, through the years, from the inception, we learn about each other, where there's love and there's personalities to deal with. And you create something that becomes greater than the sum of its parts. And so from the first days back in 1989, when a group of people came together and decided, we want to start something together. We want to be a spiritual community. And through the years, until we got here, with this group of people, from that first group, and all of the ministers, the 5 ministers that came through that time, all the people who entered those doors through that first home where they gathered, and then in that hotel on 75, and then in Garland, and then coming here, something was built. Something was created. Layers and layers upon goodness, of transformation of lives, of people being affected, comings and goings. It all grew into this fabulous place that we get to come to, this community that we get to immerse ourselves into. And every time I come here, I see the beauty of the pearl that we are. And when I talk to each of you, you too feel the beauty of what's been created through all of these years. And yes, just like a marriage, there were challenges. There were times, perhaps, when the group who was active at the time didn't know if they'd make it. Didn't know if there was going to be enough money. Didn't know if some of the conflict that rose up was going to be the end of what they had created. But somehow, everybody who was involved gave a piece of goodness, of something that would last. Just like we do in a marriage. We contribute to it. And we give from our hearts. We give with our gifts and talents. We give from what we are. And this was created 30 years later. I hope you feel how special this is. And to think about how things get created. That a single thought, an irritant, comes in. And it's not always something bad. Sometimes it's just the universe, God, knocking on our door and saying, it's time for you to do something. It's time for you to step forward. It's time for you to create a community. It's time for you to be a part. It's time for you to volunteer. It's time for you to share. Perhaps it's time for you to leave. In marriages, sometimes we have things that fall away. We have things that come in. We grow, we learn, we change, we evolve. That's what's happened in these 30 years. And all of us here are the ripple effect of a single thought 30 years ago. Someone saying yes. A group of people saying yes. And when we say yes, we never know what's going to happen. We never know that this can happen. We never know the people that will be touched by it, even minutely, or in a big, big way. Lives here are being touched in a big, big way. People who walk through those doors feel the energy in this place, energy that has grown and circulated for 30 years. And it's not just within these doors. I don't know how many people were affected by what's gone on through this community over the 3 decades. You know how you think about your age sometime and you think, when did this happen? Where'd all those years go? How about all those people that came and went in my life? What about all those places I went? All those things I accomplished? And I try to wrap my head around the 30 years that brought us here. I try to wrap my heart around the 30 years that brought us here. And then I try to wrap my heart, my mind around the next 30. Because we have been passed a baton. We have been passed a legacy to continue to grow this place, to give our best, to make it even more beautiful, stronger than it's ever been. We stand on the shoulders of those first people. And all those who came through those 30 years, they are lifting us up to continue to touch lives, to touch hearts, to open minds. I don't know that I can wrap my heart around it. It seems boundless. And I want to think that it is limitless. And that from here, we not only touch the lives in this room, but this greater community. I'm already having conversations with people here about bringing people in through these doors who never would have thought of coming through them before. And to spread that out across the planet through the internet. To let people feel what we feel when we come here, who experience God in somebody's eyes, through a touch, through a hug, through a good word, through just the way that energy moves around. Energy can't be destroyed. Yes. We're not only changing our lives like we've talked about before, we get to change the planet, the world. We get to positively affect it. Just by being who we are. Individuals embracing their divinity. stepping forward into life every single day, wanting to be better than we were the last second. Wanting to be all of those words we affirmed in January. Health, blessedness, peace, completeness, truth, faith, love, power, inspiration, all of that we get to give to the world now, just by being who we are. So much hard work has gone into these 30 years. And I believe that everybody who had a hand in that is trusting us with it, with their baby. This baby's now in adulthood. Remember when you were 30? Some are like, no, sorry, too far back. You got a calculator? I don't know how long ago that was. Yeah. Remember what energy you had when you were 30? Yeah. The dreams you had, the mistakes you made. This baby, this thing that we have now, she's growing up. She's coming into full womanhood. Yeah. And we have her responsibility in our hands and in our hearts. We do, to shepherd her forward. To shepherd her forward. As we shepherd each other in ourselves. As we shepherd ourselves and each other. To be the pearls that we were created to be. To use the irritant, that thing that made us walk through those doors. And to keep building layers of goodness over it. To keep embracing our divinity. To keep saying those affirmations. Forming that pearl. They said that those layers, organic material, is stronger than concrete. That tiny little pearl. Think about it. That tiny little thing has such strength. That is who we are. And as a collective body, we are greater than the sum of the parts. So, we are exponentially greater than 35 pearls. Exponentially greater. That's what we have. That's who we are. Pearls. There's no dollar amount that you can put on them. They said perhaps the most valuable in all the world. And so our job, as we learn to embrace how invaluable we are, is to realize how invaluable this community is. This doesn't happen everywhere. Just like they said, those pearls are very rare. This is rare and wonderful. Rare and wonderful. And so it's time for us, as we go forward into the next 30 years and beyond, is to bring that goodness, that beauty, that pearl to the world. To keep reminding each other of our goodness, of our boundless worth. And everybody that we meet, to remind them as well. There are people sorely in need of knowing their infinite goodness. Most people don't know. That's why we have the strife. That's why we have such violence in our world, such divisiveness. Because people don't know. You know. It's your job, it's my job, it's our job to be that, to shine that light into everyone we meet. Be the light. Be the beauty in the world. Spread that around. So think of yourselves as that pearl. Think of this community as that pearl. All that work has been going on, creating this beauty. And as we keep affirming that, if that will happen. And yes, we'll experience some challenges down that road, but we have everything inside of us to make it work. I look at everything that happened to make this day come together. All the people that just stepped forward and said, I'm here, what can I do? And just ran with it. Just ran with it. And created this. Yes, it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. $30 Sometimes it seems like forever. Other days it feels like that, doesn't it? Like in the blink of an eye, it's 30 years later. So it's incumbent upon us to be aware, to keep our eyes open, to celebrate every single moment, whether we're challenged in that moment or not. Embrace the things that are helping us to grow. Embrace the things that we can celebrate and smile at. Embrace all the people who gave their time, treasure, and talent to bring us here to this day. To keep them in our hearts, hold them in our hearts. Thank them always for giving us the opportunity to be here. And then to hold the world within our hearts as well. Because now we are going to let loose all of this time, treasure, and talent sitting here right now, and those that are watching us on the internet. Because it's time to change the world. It's crying for us. Crying for us. So let's step forward in our goodness, in our infinite worth, and continue to make this world a beautiful, beautiful place.